So, Lauren, let me first ask, from your perspective, where is the federal government in its journey to the cloud?
Sure. So I think the answer to that really varies agency by agency, in a lot of cases, bureau by bureau, and really depends on a lot of things, but primarily how far along they were in terms of application modernization, data center transformation, et cetera, before cloud really took off, right? So what we're seeing across all of the agencies that I represent is that many have large, be it, let's say, homegrown applications that are going to take significant effort to refactor for cloud, right? So for now, they're relying on us as a gateway to cloud. When and if those applications become better candidates for public cloud, maybe they'll move to that model. But then on the other side of the coin, I have some agencies that are quickly adopting a hybrid approach. They're kind of all in on this multi-cloud strategy. Those agencies are really enjoying the on-the-fly nature of hybrid cloud. The multi-cloud approach really works for them because these customers are constantly reevaluating their cloud strategy, right? And they're doing that based on application characteristics and enjoying the freedom of choice, especially as it pertains to cloud location. So I think it really runs the gamut in terms of agency by agency where they are in their cloud journey. But I think all of them are, of course, looking at that right now in terms of mapping out their future.
Well, I'm intrigued by your answer about agencies also getting up to speed with hybrid cloud. Tell us a little bit more about how you see agencies moving in that direction and maybe what successful lessons that they've learned that our audience would be interested in hearing.
Sure. So I think, we've heard it from industry, and now I think we're hearing it from our customers and from the federal space as a whole that the all eggs in one basket or one data center or one cloud really isn't the best fit, isn't the best choice. And so hybrid model and seeing that customers are really embracing that multi-cloud or hybrid approach. I think the reason they're doing that, it's allowing them to optimize operations. They're reaping the benefits of speed and agility of cloud, but they're also having the capability of safely, securely maintaining those mission critical workloads, be it on-prem or some sort of hybrid cloud or private cloud that they've developed. It's really the freedom to choose and move these workloads based on application characteristics. Like I mentioned earlier, I think letting application be king versus the underlying infrastructure is really motivating where those workloads go. I think a good thing to point to, or a good reason to point to the hybrid model kind of being king, is if you look in the news at some of the recent outages, I think we've seen that no data center, no model, no cloud is immune to technological or human error at some point, potential outages. So I think what we're seeing is having a plan of resiliency, not putting all your eggs in one basket necessarily, is really the sweet spot.
That's a great point. Well, I'm going to shift gears on you a little bit. Given the major cyber incidents over the past year or so, how should agencies look to secure their cloud or multi-cloud environments?
Sure. So I'm coming from industry and not necessarily a customer's perspective. So my view might be a little bit different. I think personally that customers and agencies throughout the Fed space should really put the pressure and emphasis on the vendors taking some onus there, setting up a layered defense, a zero trust, et cetera, built into cloud architectures from design to implementation. So I think security should be part of design from day one. I think that a lot of that sometimes depends on the government or individual agencies or companies really putting the pressure on industry. I think they should continue to do so. I think from an industry perspective, we need to make sure that the security measures that we put in place are done well and are done in an intuitive way, because I think what we're seeing now with a surgence of cloud and DevOps developers going in is that if we don't make it intuitive, if the security parameters are too tough to get around or are too layered in their approaches, that they'll find a way to get around it. And that's really where some of the cybersecurity risk comes to play. So I think it's kind of a shared responsibility if you will. But I definitely hope that agencies continue to apply the pressure.
Mhm. And then lastly, Lauren, what would you say are some of the biggest trends that agencies should really anticipate as they think about moving forward into the cloud?
Sure. So I think kind of right along the lines of what we're talking about, we're seeing hybrid, multi-cloud, and edge environments just surging in the next little bit. I think it's going to set the stage for a more distributed cloud model. I think because of that, we're also going to see a big surgence of platform as a service. I think that customers are going to lean on other service providers to help them in this journey of multi-cloud management, deployment, maintenance, and some of the security parameters around that. I think that's a big lift for customers. So platform as a service is going to be really big, I think. And then I also think along the same lines, customers are seeing with this multi-cloud approach that perhaps colos and having data closer to the actual location where it resides is going to be really important, and it's going to see a big surge. So that's what we're seeing on our end. I know there's a bunch of trends throughout the industry though that we're expecting.
Well, thank you for sharing your insights about those. And Lauren Harkness, thank you in general for taking a few minutes to share some of your observations about moving to the cloud in the federal government.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
And thanks to our audience for tuning in today.